You're listening to Through It All, where stories come alive and faith finds its voice. Each episode, individuals who've encountered life's highs and lows will be heard, and through it all, they witness the undeniable faithfulness of God. This isn't just about sharing stories. It's about celebrating God's enduring love and transformative power of His grace. Welcome to Through It All. Well, thanks for tuning in. We've already done a podcast already by just sitting here talking. And so I have some wonderful friends that I've got to know. And how long have you guys been here at the church?
I was kind of thinking, I bet it was...
Spring of 2021.
21, okay.
Yeah.
That's even
At least
longer
when we
than
first
I
started
thought.
visiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably kind of in and out.
So my guest, I want to introduce you, are Bob. Do you go with Robert or Bob?
Bob, please.
You don't like the Robert part, man?
I just never have, yeah. Keep it simple, Bob.
All right, that's my dad's name, Bob. So Bob and Kristen DeVisser. And we've kind of walked through some stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about some of the things in common that we have. And I don't know, man. I was just, what is it? It's 9:41. We spent 40 minutes or more just talking. Bob, you're a hunter, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that's how it got to 9:41.
Deer stories before the stories. I love it, man. And Kristen, you are like mega, I don't want to call it farmy.
Animal fanatic.
Animal
equestrian.
fanatic? Like chickens.
Also outdoorsy. Just, yeah.
My kind of people.
Yeah, my kind of person, too.
That's what you got. Was that part of how you guys got married? Or was it just like
It's definitely how...
farmers.com or what was it, man?
No.
I wasn't my parents didn't have one animal. I just have an animal addiction, and it turned into a farm. I had a farm before Bob married me, though.
They got animals because of you, I think is what happened.
Correct.
Yeah, because now they do.
Bob married me with a dog, horse, goat, and chickens when I was in my early 20s.
And no one would ever, like, if you look at you guys, no one would ever know that.
Yeah.
You know, other than the boots, man, cowboy boots and
Church is the only time I'm dressed nice. Otherwise, I'm in sweatpants and muck boots and hair up.
Nice. Yeah. And that makes it that's a good look. So anyways, I'm super excited about you guys because we walked through some stuff with some pretty heavy things with your little man, your youngest, Wade. You have 3 children, correct?
Yes.
Give me names and ages.
Oh, we have Olivia. She's our oldest.
How old's Olivia?
She's almost 9.
Pink boots, Olivia, right?
Pink boot, purple.
Purple.
Right now it's purple, but
Yeah.
I'm sure she's had pink too. And then we have Jackson Boone, and he'll be 6 this year. And then Wade
How old is Wade?
his birthday was just a couple weeks ago.
St. Patty's Day,
So he's 3 years old.
3?
Yeah,
He's good size for 3.
he is. Yeah.
Yes, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and she's a tiny little thing, full of spit. I mean,
Yeah.
she's no joke, but I'll tell you what, man. So, I love your family. You know what I love
Thank
about
you.
your family is just, we call it turnt. Just got something going on.
Oh,
Like, yeah, let's get this going, man.
We're a little wild.
Yeah, that's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, how did you guys meet?
Well, do you want to take it, or?
I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bob and I met, I had to say this, through Faith. My friend, her name was Faith.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I thought you
And
were
Bob
talking
was
about-
friends with her. Yeah, so I always say we met through Faith. But no, so my friend Faith invited me to a bonfire in 2019. So 2nd year in college, I was 19 years old. I think I just turned 19. And met Bob at a bonfire. I remember our conversation so well. But anyway, we had one little conversation, and that was it. And then we would run, like, cross paths through friends in college throughout the years. But there was there was nothing there.
Yeah, we didn't hang out like we seen it was in passing, like, oh yeah, I remember you from the bonfire.
Yeah, so 2012. 2012, I remember I was sitting at my desk studying in my apartment, and Bob called me up. And Bob, I was not like that close to Bob, but I obviously had his phone number. I don't even remember getting his phone number. And I was like, "Oh, I'll answer it. Why is Bob calling? Like, Bob never calls me." And
I had that one
I'll let
figured out.
Bob go from here.
Was it one of those things like, "Hey, what are you doing? What did you call
Well,
for?"
No,
man?
he was way better
this
than
is-
that.
This is funny. So I was doing landscaping. I was previously doing landscaping, then I jumped to doing like fire mold and water restoration with Van Dam and Cruisinga.
Oh yeah.
Then I was also looking to do something this person approached me about Amway. I'm like, what's Amway? You know, he's oh, you can you can make extra money on the side, on on top of your job. And anyways, we get to talking, and I knew just enough to where I was like, is this a pyramid scheme? Oh, no, not a pyramid scheme. Nothing against Amway. I really don't. I mean, I guess maybe it has its place, but for me, I was like, oh, good, money on the side. And part of it was, okay, going through your phone, figuring out who to talk to. And we were me and this guy met at a hotel, and we were doing like what we call like cold calls or whatever.
I gotta stop you
Yeah.
right now, man.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you this. Did you call her because you liked her, or because you wanted her as an Amway underneath your pyramid scheme system?
I called her because I liked her. I'm like, this is perfect. I wanted to talk to her anyways. This is gonna be perfect. And so I ended up giving her a call to see if she wanted to meet to talk business.
He goes, "Do you want to have a business meeting?" And I'm so confused. I'm like, I have 2 jobs and I'm in college, like kind of busy here.
Yeah. So, I mean, she picked up the phone, and then we were talking, and I said, well, I'm like, I'd like to tell you more, but, I'd like to tell you, in person. And turns out you were training for a race, right?
So I backed out on meeting him twice. Not because I didn't want to meet him. I just was always so busy. And Bob realized I was training for this race. So Bob's really smart. And he's like, "Hey, how about I just come running with you one day? And I'll tell you about it." And I was like, "Sure, I'll take a friend to go running with me." So
Yeah.
then it went from
That's
there.
impressive.
Then we didn't
Yeah.
really talk about business. Not for long.
Well, yeah, so we started on the Calhaven Trail, and meet up at the trailhead. And we start running, and, I'm just, talking away. And I didn't, run. I wasn't, training for a race or anything. But I didn't mind running back then, just hey, I'll go on a run. And so I'm, talking away. And I think we ran about four
We
or
only
five.
hung out a couple times. We're not dating. Nothing
Yeah.
like dating was happening.
Were you no? You're a Marine,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Where's that in this? Because I heard through the grapevine you're a sniper. Which
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, what? That's like movie stuff, man. Tell me, where's that in all this?
So that was that started in 2008. Graduated high school in 2007, and I wasn't really. I was kind of thinking about college and whatnot, but I had some friends that were the grade above me, or 2 grades above me, I should say, and they went in the Marine Corps, and I had kind of always thought about it, but not, really hard about it. And then graduate high school, I'm like, well, what am I doing? Am I going to college? I'm working lawn care at the time. And so I went down to a recruiter office without, parents knowing, anyone knowing, just went down there and started talking. And he goes, well, yeah, I said, hey, I want to do infantry. And he goes, oh, perfect. I go, well, what kind of infantry jobs do you have? I don't know a thing. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, we got, mortarmen, you drop mortars, 0341, and you carry an M4. He goes, you could be a door kicker, 0311, regular infantry. And then he goes, well, you could be a 0351 where you can do demolition and, you know, blow up doors and then run in, you know, with your gun, and you can shoot a shoulder fire or a missile. I go, that one, you know, and
like which one has the missiles involved, right?
So I don't really know much. I didn't know any other options. I didn't know that Marine Corps didn't have, you know, like non-infantry stuff. I'm like, well, why would I go in if I'm not going to be infantry? I love guns.
Right.
Loved hunting. And anyways, so I, right then and there, I go, okay, sign me up. And he goes, you know, active duty. I didn't know there was any other possibility, you know, non-active. And he goes, okay, well, did your parents know? I go, oh no, but it'll be okay, you know. And he goes, all right, well, I can get this started. He's like, you would leave next week. And I go, whoa, that's quick, but okay. I'm like, yeah, I better go tell my parents. I tell my parents, they, and all my siblings, I got a lot. I got 7 brothers and sisters, and they all like were like, what are you doing? You know, like, especially my mom and dad, they're like, no. Go to college first, and then if you still like take a semester of college. So they basically talked to me going to a semester of college and then joining. So I called the recruiter back. I said, hey, I'll get a hold of you in December. You know, I'll do a semester of college and then I'll join up. Well, that led to me not going active duty. So I took a semester of college. Then I talked to him and figured out, oh, there's a reserve option where I can still, you know, have a job back home, but also do the fun stuff. And so I started thinking about it, and also I could continue to go to college, and not saying I wanted to, like I was never a school guy at all. And so I said, you know what, I think I want to switch to reserves. He goes, okay, that's no problem. He's like, you will leave in March of '08. So I signed up, swore in January 9 of '08, and then left for boot camp March.
Did you go to California?
Yes.
So you're a Hollywood Marine.
That's what they say.
That's what my dad calls him, man. Because he was at, what is it, Lejeune?
Yeah, East Coast.
Yeah, one way on, one way off, man.
Oh, yeah.
Paris Island,
Yeah.
that's what it is, man. So
Yeah.
he's like, they always call them Californias.
Okay.
California Marines, man.
Yeah.
They didn't get put on the island, so.
Right.
Dude, that's just incredible, man. I mean, like I always, one, thank you for serving our country. And then also two, I wanted to make sure that for the listener that we had that in order, because I'm like, were you know, how did you two get together? What year did you get married?
2014.
Good job.
Yeah.
You haven't been married that long, have you?
Going on 12 years.
Yeah, when you're looking
like
at somebody's in their 30-something years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
I'd
12
say,
years.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
dated just a little under 2 years, and Bob was pretty much gone.
One whole year.
I used to know the count, like how many days he was gone and how many days we had together. He was gone probably 75% of the time we dated.
Yeah.
And yeah, 'cause for being deployed and
And
going
then
to
the
all the
schools.
sniper classes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to a bunch of, it's funny when they think, you know, Marine Corps, like reserve and whatnot. You know, it's like, oh, you know, weekend warrior, sure, you know, as far as like the training goes. But there was a lot of schools, one of them being, you know, sniper schools. I was going to schools like one after another. I'd have, you know, a month or two off and go for another, you know, course. And then, you know, deployments, I think before we even started dating, I was, we started running together. And I gave up the whole business thing on her and just focused on her. But I didn't let her.
No profit
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And she didn't, but I wasn't very clear about like, you know, hey, you know, I want to date. I was very
Bob was
mysterious.
a very discreet guy. Like he would hang out with me, but like when we went out to dinner, we didn't sit down at a table. He just like was playing pool, and like I was like, does this guy like me or are we just friends?
Not a lot of lady skills.
But and
Yeah,
then
I don't know. I didn't want to like, I don't know, you know, come on too strong. I guess.
Dude, you're like the last man. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You married both of you. You know what I mean? But like that's the dude that, like in my mind, it's just like, hey, how's it going? You know, calm. You know,
Yep.
no
That's
agenda. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in the church?
I grew up, yes. I felt like from, day one, I grew up in the Netherlands Reformed
Oh boy.
congregation, so very Dutch. In fact,
Oh man.
I remember like both my grandparents could speak, I think they call it Dutch, right? Yeah, they could speak fluently both languages. Sometimes they didn't want to hear what they're saying. They would, talk about us. But those were the, grandparents, parents, just English. And so we went to the Netherlands Reformed congregation, which was about 10 minutes away, 12 minutes away from our house. And then there was a school linked to it. So basically, it was Providence Christian. So I grew up going to that school, going to that church. And it was a 300 capacity church, roughly. But all the people that went to that church went to that school all the way up to ninth grade. So
Good experience or not?
it was a good experience. I didn't know anything different at all. I didn't know that other schools had all these people. I mean, I had 8 to 9 people in my classes all the way to ninth grade, and then we went to the big school up in Grand Rapids, which had like 28 in my class. So that's all I knew.
It's a giant school.
Yeah.
28. He had 20 more people.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. And you, Kristen, you grew
Yeah.
up Catholic?
I grew up Catholic. Both of my parents were raised Catholic, so they started off raising me Catholic.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I
So
mean,
when you say when you say raising me Catholic, does that mean like
oh no, I mean
you
we
went
went
to
to church
mass?
every week. Yeah,
Okay, all
no,
right.
my mom was very involved. I mean, my dad was involved too. He just worked a lot. I guess it was later. My parents, I'll admit, after I moved out of the house, so when I went to college, they kind of left the Catholic Church. And at that time, I mean, I want to think a lot of people, for a long period of my life, I've always believed in God, but I never loved going to church as a child. I wouldn't say I ever felt a connection, didn't really have a desire to read the Bible. Of course, we were forced, but had to. And as I got older, I think I wanted that relationship, but I shouldn't say hate, but I very much disliked religion. And I no longer wanted to associate with a church.
yeah?
And
It sounds like if I'm listening to both of you, knowing where you came up, that's high religion. Like
Yeah.
both of you.
They both have a lot of rules.
A lot of rules, a lot of discipline, it's almost like the rules, that's how you determine your relationship with God, is how good you are, or
100%.
you didn't do this, or you did eat fish on Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that you both kind of had that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit how you came to, because you're at North Point now.
I am.
Last time I checked, this is
Yeah.
not a Catholic church.
No, it's not.
Yeah, what happened?
So in college, I will admit, I always had that desire to, I guess, have a better relationship with God, and I just couldn't figure out how. And eventually my parents left the Catholic Church, so my mom kept inviting me to the new church they were going to, and I eventually did. Years later, it was right before I met Bob. And I think that time in my life, like my early 20s, I knew I wanted to go somewhere again and just be connected with people who believed in God. I just know where. And so I went to, it's called The River, a Christian, non-denominational church. And I would just go there here and there, but I was never involved with them. But I felt something different there. I can't even explain it. Like, I just felt like the people were more real and actually had this relationship. I saw it change my mom in particular. So it was all good. And I think right before I met Bob, I was in a spot where I just really wanted my partner in life. And I think that's where I started reaching out to God more. As silly as it sounds, like in your young 20s, I guess as a woman, I wanted to find I knew how important it was to have a good husband.
You pick me.
And so I don't know, how as silly as it sounds, when Bob came into my life, I'm like, God answered this prayer. And that was kind of like this, I feel like that was the start of a stronger relationship with God. By no means was I like this strong Christian or anything, but it helped lead me closer and closer. And then I guess leading to North Point. So Bob and I had been married for years. We lived 5 years in Kalamazoo, and then we moved to Allegan. And by then we had Olivia, and I was pregnant with Jackson. And I would say my children have brought me even closer to God. Once I had children, or had Olivia, I knew I wanted to raise my kids in the church. In a way that sounds bad. It was almost like I felt like that's just what I had to do. But we couldn't find a church that we felt like was home. We would visit so many different kinds of churches, and they're all great in their own way, but it just didn't feel, it just didn't feel right. One of us wasn't happy, and so once we moved to Allegan, I honestly don't even know how I came across North Point. If I drove past it, saw it online. I was watching a lot of churches online because it was during COVID. So anyway, somehow I believe God kind of led me here. And I swear from the moment we stepped in, I think you came up to us the first day we visited.
You did.
I saw Bob, and the biggest thing is I wanted to see Bob felt welcome and comfortable. I don't want to say he struggled with it more.
No, definitely.
I was more open to, yeah.
I mean, just going to all the different churches. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're good. So, yeah, thank you for just being loving and kind and welcoming, because
I saw your boots.
That's the first thing you
boots.
need when you go to church, is that you feel loved.
I think you came up and you said, "My people," or something like that.
We talked about that. Remember we were talking about it, and I'm like, you guys are outdoorsy, man. You got a farm and all that. I don't want to get too much into it, but I love talking to you. And I think where did you give your life to Christ? Would you say, hey, he's my Savior, I confess, he's my Savior? Because a lot of people talk about church a lot.
Yeah.
And church doesn't save us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that it's Reformed, man. Church, more church, and then some church. And Catholicism, a lot of times, is Mass, this. There's a lot of rhythms and things like that. Where's that at for you?
I mean, I would say that's probably more in Wade's story.
Okay.
Where I really laid it down and...
Okay.
Yeah.
But Jesus is your Lord.
100%.
All right. You, my man.
So, going to the Netherlands Reformed and that school, everything, I mean, at the time, I didn't know, anything different. We were very sheltered, whatever you want to say, from, I mean, no TV in the house. Girls wore hats on Sunday. They even frowned on guys wearing shorts a little bit. Some families did. And then if you didn't want to upset them, you better wear pants, and it was a lot of, it was just rules and traditions that, and this is by no means a knock on, the Netherlands Reformed Church. It's just what my personal experience, it's very hard to stay, in your mind to stay involved and get something out of the sermons, because they were the same. It was everything, the organ music, playing, and then even the preaching. There was never times where try to tie it into 2000 whatever nowadays.
Are you talking about practical application?
Yeah, but maybe even some real life scenarios, hey, it was all just based off of, maybe a Bible verse, the whole sermon off of one, or maybe a chapter or a couple verses, which has its place. It was hard to tie it into, like, the whole sermon for 2 hours is about, that verse. And it just, for a while we didn't have a pastor there. It would just be an elder, because they were looking for a pastor to come to, the Kalamazoo church. One would come and then get called away, maybe 2 years later, 3 years later. But I do remember, like, when the elders would just read, and they're, basically reading the sermon off. It was very hard for me to stay involved. And I just remember all the time just thinking, oh, when is it going to be over? When is it going to be over? Oh, I got to come back, this evening, and we're going to do the same thing. And that's just, I'm just talking how I felt.
No, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
And it's supposed to be.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I saw some emotion in you where you're talking about mom, and they're Protestant now, correct? Your parents?
Oh, yeah, they go to a Christian church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a major transformation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've met your parents. Top-notch folks. Like them.
They're pretty fun.
And, so, like, I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, how many people do you think, because you're just barely, well, you're heading towards 40, right?
Unfortunately.
We're mid-30s still.
Yeah, you're mid-30s, but that's young. That's
Yeah.
super young.
Yeah.
How many people your age do you think have experienced that kind of, I know it's kind of a throwing the dice on it, we don't know, but do you have a lot of friends that's their experience? As a pastor, I'm witnessing this a lot, of people in their 20s and 30s that got really sick of religion.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, this
Yeah.
is all I knew was religion. And then if you have things that don't line up, like, let's say my parents said this but did this, that's tragic. I've seen that, dozens and dozens of times. Do as I say, not as I do. That just defeats and makes religion even more nasty.
Draws you away.
Yeah, and you're like, how is this? That's hypocrisy. I mean, I think there's a really big draw right now to a church where you belong, that you are significant. And we're going to get into your story in just a second, but you're significant. Do you know what I mean? You mean a lot to me, to this church. There's a lot of connections that came through some brokenness and some tough stuff you guys went through. But do you feel more free here?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, because the way that church was, the things that were pushing me away, I guess I was a little bit more of a against the grain guy to begin with. Like, just I was a little, problem child in the family, somewhat. Just a little more rowdy. Didn't like following rules. Got a lot of spankings and stuff, justfully. But when I got older, it kind of all came to a head probably like my senior year in high school, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be 18 here, and I don't, I'll be an adult, I don't have to go, and then, I don't have to go to this church, but knowing that, especially the way that church worked, when everyone knows you very well, same school, you see them every Sunday twice. People love to talk about each other, and it was really
That's such a shame.
It was really bugging me, because it was like, oh, did you see what this person did, that person did, but then you turn around and talk to that person, and there was all this drama and rumors, and
So
I hated it.
Yeah. So you remember, I think that's one of the most, I don't know, I could go off on a 2-hour sermon on this one, but Do you remember Jesus? He called the Pharisees, I think it was whitewashed tombs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you look really good on the outside, but you're full of dead bones. I almost feel like that. Many people I've talked to, that's their experience. Is that it was just a persona. It was this picture. If you look good,
Yeah.
then you're good. And we all know that's what. You know, you can look great and be just terrible on the inside.
Yeah.
And it's such an important part, and something that I think as Christians we have to strive to love people, to keep our mouths. I think the tongue, just like James said, has destroyed a lot of stuff. I mean, I know from people just, talking about each other, or they don't fit, or that's I'm so sorry, man, that happened to you, man, because
Yeah.
that's some nasty junk.
When I left for boot camp, and that was the first time ever going to a different church, because Sundays they had like a boot camp church you could go to, and you can get away from the drill instructors for an hour, which was awesome. And that's honestly initially why I went. It wasn't because I was always told, different church, you don't want to do that. It's basically like wolf in sheep's clothing. They'll try to spin you or catch you with their charisma of some sort, and they had, guitars and like the singing, and it was just like, oh, what is going on? To me, culture shock in general for me, going from what I was used to boot camp, rough, rowdy guys just getting, we're all getting screamed at for 3 months straight, and then going to this church and they're singing. But I did like it. Like, I was like, I felt something different when, and like I was listening, to the words actually instead of, sermon, and just, I was so used to drowning them out for 2 hours. And that was a little, different. And then I met this guy, his name's Andy Opie. Went to boot camp with him, went to SOI with him. And I remember, SOI is School of Infantry. It's like the follow-on. And I would hang out with him on the weekends, and really good guy from Montana. And
how can you not be good from Montana?
And turns out
I've wanted to live there. Like, the first time I went there, I'm like, Michelle, I think we should retire here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, behold, this is, man, I love that state. But now that we have grandkids, we ain't going nowhere.
I hear you.
All right, go ahead.
Well, just in talking with him, and we'd go out, sit down at a, place to get food, and he would, hey, do you mind if I pray for all of us? And be, 3 or 4 of us. And I'm like, oh, that's usually what I would do, but I never do, because, I don't want to not fit in. It's the peer pressure thing. You want to be the, try to be the cool guy. And that was like on me. I was too embarrassed to do it in front of whatever, friends. He wasn't. Oh, and he would say a prayer. And then I started talking about with him, and I said, well, what church do you go to? And he goes, oh, it's a non-denominational church in Montana. And I just started thinking, I'm like, this guy's a better Christian than me, and I'm supposed to be in the church, the only one. There's 4 different churches around the, in the U.S. and a couple in Canada, Netherlands Reformed. I'm like, I was told that's it. Like, not the one that's real close to it, but it's got to be that one. And so after just talking to him a lot, and I come home, and I remember talking to my dad, and I said, all right, so I met this guy, Andy Opie, really good guy, and started talking to him about, everything I've heard. And I go, so you believe that in your head, I know we're not supposed to judge, but you would believe that Andy Opie wouldn't go to heaven. He goes, well, does he go to the Netherlands Reformed? I go, no. He goes, then no, he's going to hell. And I remember when I heard
Seriously?
that, yeah. He said, well, he's not truly saved, whether he says he's saved or not. And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to Netherlands Reformed. And basically, that wasn't when I truly stopped, but for the most part, I did stop going there. And
so would they consider you unsaved?
I really don't know. I don't know. Based off of that conversation, my dad maybe still would. But I have siblings that go to what I would call knockoffs of the Netherlands Reformed. Very close, Protestant Reformed, Free Reformed. So
Orthodox, yeah.
Yeah.
And what they do. Man.
yeah, and then when I came home from deployment, I think you came with me. We visited my mom and dad's church, and this is coming back from deployment. Everyone knew I was on deployment there, and I come back. One person came up to me after church and was like, "Hey, how was your deployment? Glad you're back. Glad you're alive." Everyone else just kind of, it was like these stares, like, "You shouldn't be here," or whatever. And it was an icky
I'm
feeling.
sorry.
Kristen could tell. When she would visit a couple times, she's like, "I don't think this is for me. Like, am I really supposed to wear a dress or a hat?" And I'd be
I
like,
wouldn't
"No,
wear a
you
hat.
be." I go, "No, you be
Because
you."
I won't be fake.
No, I gotta fit in. I gotta fit in. And I said, and I had kind of started pushing back on everything. I'm like, well, just because, sure, the girls wear hats, but I'm like, if it's not you, don't go there and not be you. Like, just go to church. Like, that's what's important, and getting the message. And it was kind of just a bad feeling after that. And we stopped, and we were dating, and shortly after got married. And that's
Where did you get married? Did you get married in that church, or
No.
where did you like?
Well, that we struggled. I honestly did not know a whole lot about Bob's religion until we were planning the wedding. And I realized how strict it was. Finding out I couldn't have dancing. Anyway, I don't need to go into it. But I said, you know what? And it was pretty common. The year we got married, 2014, I was like, let's get married outside. We're nature people, right? So I was like, God made nature. We don't need a building to hold our wedding. And then we weren't picking a Catholic church, a Christian. Just be out in nature. So that's what we did. Probably one of the first weddings your parents ever been to outside, but they came. And it went fine. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I guess through this all, my mom and dad talked to me, my siblings talked to me. I could tell it was like a sensitive subject, like, well, don't talk about church, to Bob. Like, my dad tried in his way, which is he's not good with people. It's just, what's wrong with you,
Avoidance.
Yeah. But my mom was always loving, and great relationship with them, great relationship with all my siblings, but I'm the only one who kind of like branched out from there.
Yeah, you branched out big.
I did.
He married me.
Yeah, and that was, yeah. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. But
No, this is awesome. I mean, I used to, my son-in-law told me one time, I'm like, I want to try to keep these to 40 minutes or so. We're at 38 right now. Okay. We haven't even started talking about what we're supposed to talk about. So I just kind of threw that to the wind. I was like, content. I don't know. I just sit here. I love these things. But I love, when we get done, I'll kind of process throughout the day. And it's just amazing to me how God kind of snatched you out of this very rigid, almost like a jail type experience with God, that if you, like, I remember growing up as a kid, and I grew up in somewhat of a legalistic, roller skating, was terrible, cards were terrible, I mean, anything was terrible, it seemed like. And I remember that it was like, man, like, if, music or anything, it was like everything that was out in the world was terrible. And I remember, like, that just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I remember what it did to me is it made my mind, so I've always thought of God as a police officer. Okay? And I remember these pictures. So you can see God as old Father Time, the beard, and, he's old, he's doing this. And then you had This other one where Jesus was kind of like a hippie and he didn't care what you did and this and that. And then there was this one picture, and I must have been like 12, 13, 14 years old. And the one picture that I resonated with the most was the police officer, where he was always out to get me. Do you know what I mean? Always out to bust me. Always out, you did something wrong. And I think that's such a travesty in the modern world. I mean, you guys got to be feeling super free in Christ, now, man, like growing. And so, man.
It feels genuine to me. Sorry, like it was almost like everything was, you got to appease these people because they're watching.
It wasn't living for God, it was living for people.
Yeah. And it almost seemed like, okay, it was more about like the building. It's like, well, wait, when I'm a Marine, I'm working on Sundays, the enemy doesn't stop on Sundays either.
Right.
Oh, that's bad. You should be resting. And it just, yeah. That was kind of, there's just a lot of things that just kept mulling over in my head. And I, in a way, I got no TV in the house. There's a lot of crap on there, but just I was not meant to be caged, and I've kind of swung both ways. So after I got in the Marine Corps and I think I'm invincible and everything, and start, trying to catch up on life. I missed out on all this,
Get released from the Amish,
It's
right?
like, yeah.
Yeah, sure. What do they call that? Roomsprechen or something like that, man. You got loose.
But it's kind of like, it's almost like a pendulum swing, right? Then I'm hanging out with this pretty wild bunch, and Marines, great guys, just from all different types of life and religions and whatnot.
Wild. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, met Kristen, got married, and then I swung back to where, like, comfortable, I guess.
So let's talk about what happened. Okay. So I think this is, to me, it's amazing. It's incredible, but also too, I think you guys have been to the edge. You've been unbelievable. So your daughter,
Yep.
healthy,
Yep.
born that way, and then is it Jackson?
Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah, Jackson, healthy. So you got 2 kids. You're building a farm.
Life was perfect.
Buying
it really was, in a
goats
way.
left and right,
It was
or
great.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, your 3rd child. Tell me what happened there. Like what?
How it's
Yeah, how things started, and then I want the listener to know the story, because I look at walking with you for a really long time.
Yeah.
In roundabout ways, and the elders of the church, and caring for you, not about. So what happened with Wade?
So I just want to make a note, speaking of church.
Mm-hmm.
I was drawn to North Point in, was it 2021? I got pregnant, so we started coming here more regularly, and I got pregnant with Wade in 2022. Found out at 20-week ultrasound about his diagnosis.
What was his diagnosis?
And Wade was diagnosed with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And a quick way to explain it, he has the left side of his heart underdeveloped or missing. His left ventricle is not there. And it's it's a congenital heart defect, and it's one of the most severe heart defects. Of course, we knew, I never heard of it. Even, I have a lot of medical friends. My father's in the medical field. It's not common. So I'd tell them about it. They maybe have heard of it, but they had to help research it with me So anyway, very serious heart condition. At the time, you know, we were diagnosed at Bronson. From there, my appointments got switched over to Mott's Hospital because we knew he'd have to be born there. He would not survive being born at Bronson. So, God blessing, they found his condition.
So what happened? I mean, when you find that out,
Like the day.
what happened? I mean, like in your heart, were you just devastated? What?
I was numb. Bob and I didn't really talk. We just held each other. But
Yeah.
Scared?
yeah.
I think I didn't, in my head, after hearing that, and I didn't really know enough, but I didn't think he would be born. So I was already prepping to, yeah.
Well, so then we got transferred to Mott's for all my appointments, and every appointment we'd have at Mott's, they do it. It's amazing. They can do echoes on a baby when they're in utero, which is really cool. So they check his heart as he developed inside the womb, and every time we'd meet with a cardiologist after the echo, it just got worse. Like, as in the chances of him surviving, there was always something found that made him higher risk, and you would think like, okay, this appointment can't be any worse than the last one. And it was. And they pretty much just like, I remember the last time, probably one of the last times before Wade was born, she gave me a folder about palliative care and, you know, like basically meaning you just hold your baby and love him until he's gone. So we were kind of told like he wouldn't be a candidate for even having heart surgery to live. So we were mentally preparing for that. But there was always this little, and so over time, my pregnancy was the hardest time out of, I would say, Wade's whole journey, right? Because there were so many more unknowns. Wade wasn't actually here yet. I physically couldn't see him. Things just kept getting worse and worse, like his diagnosis and possibility of surviving. But there was one cardiologist who was like, hey, if he can show us he's strong enough, he might be a candidate for a open heart transplant. And I'm like, okay, well, that's terrifying. Like a newborn getting a new heart, I couldn't even bottle that in my mind. But so first I lived on that. I was like, he's gonna live. He's gonna get a heart. And that's kind of...
Did you guys, were you committed? It would seem like to me like the medical community would be like, this baby's not worth it, or, you know, let's just end the pregnancy. Let's do this. Were you committed to taking him full term?
Yeah.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, I mean, like, that makes sense
Oh,
to me.
yeah.
Like,
There was a
you're
doc-
like, I mean, because you know how you have that tension of this is God? Because first and foremost, I'm assuming you believe that child is from God.
Yes.
100%.
Okay. No, God doesn't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, physical. I mean, we're never promised anything on this earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than He'll be with us, He'll love us, and we just plow through. But you know, the effects of sin and brokenness and all this kind of stuff. And so, I commend you on that, because it would seem like, oh, well, we don't have to worry about this. But you powered through, and you had this little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Now I remember we were praying for you quite a bit.
Thank you. Yes.
And no, I mean like the elders and everything else. But I didn't know. Like, I knew it was a heart thing. What are you two doing? Like, where's your faith at and all this kind of thing? Were you just like, where's God?
I think it was prior to him being born. It was a lot of, at least for me, just a lot of trying to pray for some type of miracle.
Mm-hmm.
to happen, or okay, the next appointment maybe would be something better. Maybe there'll be a solution of some sort, or a straight up miracle. But yeah, it definitely affected day to day attitude, and just how do you stay upbeat, for one, for your other two kids, but push through work and.
Did you feel empty, like God's not around, or did you say, man, I have nothing more to do than just to turn to him because I don't know how I'm going to get through this?
I didn't feel like he wasn't there. I knew he was there. I think for me, before I knew the diagnosis, like I said, we were coming to North Point. I just felt like we were doing so many, again, like checking off boxes, like I was trying to be a better mom, better Christian, better wife, and life was going great. And then I get this diagnosis of my third son, planned to be my last child, and all I could think of, I guess what kept running through my head is, what did I do wrong? God, I did something wrong, so he's punishing me. And so that's how I guess I was just mad at myself. I did something wrong. And so I kept asking him for signs, like what did I do wrong, and can I fix this? And anyway, I now have learned God does not punish us. This is not he did not punish me or Wade or Bob or any of us. But anyway, at the time, being pregnant, it's harder to see and understand. I wanted answers, and so it did lead me to want to read the Bible more. I wouldn't say I read the Bible a lot pregnant, though, because I was just trying to find answers, like, why did this happen? Maybe I was trying to find more hope in a Bible story. And really what it got down to right before Wade was born is I knew this was very serious and very small possibility Wade would live. And I knew we had the absolute best. I mean, U of M is one of the best hospitals for hypoplastic left heart syndrome in the U.S., let alone world. So it's amazing. So I keep thinking, like, God did this for us. God did that for us. Like, all these little things. He gave me this church, and they are supporting me. For the first time in my life, I realized why people have a church. I've had a good life, and now my life wasn't good, and I needed these people, and I've learned what it's like to hit rock bottom. And I was so scared to ask for prayers, because I never want anyone to feel pity on me, or I guess I'm just scared to ask for help. I think a lot of people are, but I was terrified to ask for help. But I got to the point where I was desperate, and I knew we had all the medical stuff in line for Wade. That was all in my control. The rest was out of my control. And so I was like, well, I can pray for Wade, but I needed praying warriors. So that's where I guess I had to hang on to that little bit of hope and believe, like, the more people praying, I'm not saying it was gonna fix him or even save his life, but I just knew it would. If I could have all these people praying for him, I knew it could at least be better in some way. So it made me open up and ask for help and ask for prayers. And I've never had people pray over me in my entire life. And you guys prayed over me pregnant, I think a week or two before he was born. I remember shaking, but I knew it was doing something. So thank you.
You're an incredible.
Gosh dang.
I know how it is. I feel like I can talk in any moment right now. I'm just like, wow. So Bob, you're trying to support her, love her, stay strong. Are you praying together?
No.
No.
I'm not gonna pretend. No.
I mean, the most we prayed together was like at dinner.
or at night, like with the kids. I would say
Yeah.
Bob and I could be better about that.
Oh yeah.
I disappear into my barn.
So you have a tendency to kind of just.
It's where I drift away.
How do you do with that stress and hurt and brokenness? Are you like, do you run to it, or do you just kind of clam up? You know how each one of us has a way in which you do this. My wife is tears, and silence to some degree. Do you know what I mean? I'm a verbal processor. So if I figure if I could talk about it for a long enough period of time, I'm going to come up with some sort of, which is exhausting for my wife. And the silence kills me. It's not that it's not that we don't love each other and care about each other. But
Yeah.
how did you handle all this?
Silence.
We're both silent.
Yeah, I would know. I remember, I want to say it was a couple times, but I knew Kristen went up to the barn to just cry and let loose. I could feel it, you know, and so I would go up there. It was just a couple times, but I was like, we need to get through this together, because everything felt like so, I just felt like everything was gonna get torn apart. Like you said, I mean, everything was going smooth. Healthy kids, always take it for granted, you know, like, you know, they had their doctor's appointment or whatever, and work was going well, and then all of a sudden this, and there were so many times like I don't know what to say, and I've always kind of been like that, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to even word this, like what I'm thinking
To Kristen?
To Kristen.
I think sometimes there's nothing really to say. It's one of the biggest mistakes I believe I've made as a Christian is either one, I don't want to say the biggest mistakes, a big mistake, is either one, I think it was, let me back up. There was a Sarah Wolfile. They struggled with infertility and they couldn't have kids, and she was a guest here. Listen to that, baby. It's a good one. But she's talking about how it wasn't helpful when people had answers. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, it's gonna be okay, and you're like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, man, you know, we had a friend and he was in Cleveland and his child had the same thing. You're just like, just stop.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I want you to do is just
Sit with me in silence.
yeah, and there's a beautiful thing about that. And I think we're afraid because we believe that not having the answer and not having the right words means we're wrong. Just like what you said, I felt like I had done something wrong. I mean, we see that in the New Testament all the time. Kid's blind. What did his parents do? What did he do? You know, there's got to be an association with this because God's just pressing me down. I've done something wrong. And then we learn, like, you're processing all of that. So you walk up to the barn and
just kind of basically hold her, cry together. And there's so many times I wish I knew what to say, the right things to say, and I don't know what's going to happen. She doesn't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. And I do remember, I mean, and this is, unfortunate, but I remember having resentment to God even before he was born. Like, why him? Well, why does, he deserve that? Why do we deserve this? But like, even like after he was born, just thinking, and they're awful thoughts, but like, well, why Wade? Can I have the can I have the issue? Or can I take his burden? Like, this kid's especially now, he's like the funnest, kid ever. And you would never know, but like, why does he have to lay there? See, I struggled with that. Trying to make sense or reason why, when none of that mattered. It was totally out of our hands. God will do.
Mm-hmm.
He's already got a plan for Wade. He had a plan for Wade, plan for us before we even, were pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, yeah, it's tough, and in the moment trying to, thinking back, well, I can't be thinking like that, and, how your attitude changes around everything.
Yeah, and do you know, and this sounds, that God knows our hearts and he knows our minds. And I think I spent a lot of my years growing up of just thinking that he didn't know, or, why would I have feelings like that? And I've learned over the years that like you look at the psalmist, pretty straightforward. Do you know what I mean? And I used to be like, that's dangerous. That's on the edge of, just blasphemy or something. And he's like, hey, where you at, God? Why am I'm crying, I'm hurting. And I think there's some beauty in that. And we learned that over the time, is that, hurt because I expect God to do these things. I expect him. And, there's a pattern. And then when he doesn't, it's like I see a lot of people who blame God for all of the bad, but never for the good. Do you know what I mean? They'll never be like, and he's blessed us so much. We focus on that one thing that didn't go right, and then we attribute to him, somehow you forgot me. And it's just part of who we are. We struggle through that. So if, for the listener, they haven't figured this out already, Wade was born.
Wade was born.
I saw Wade yesterday.
Yeah.
Screaming, probably running.
That boy's
Wild Wade.
his heart is working. So you guys got in there. So I want to talk about this. So you went in there and Wade was born. How long were you in? That was a long time, right? Because he came out, surgeries, stuff like that. What happened, Kristen? So he was born what day?
Sure. So he was born on St. Patty's Day. And my birth plan actually was more what I had wished for than I ever thought. As in, I didn't need a C-section or anything, because lots of kids are. But when he was born, I think that's when I had even more hope. He was born huge. He was my biggest baby, and cardiac babies are not big.
Yeah.
He was
Like, what's big?
No, I'm going blank off the top of my head. He was almost 9 pounds. Most of my other two kids were like in the 7 pounds, and they induced me early. My other kids went late. So anyway, like, all the nurses kept saying, like, this kid is big. I was like, well, we were praying for that, because the surgeon would tell us the bigger your baby is, just that was like a big variable to making it through surgery, if he could be a candidate. And just that he was born and he was breathing and I could hold, they told me they would probably scoop him up for me the moment he was born and right away attach him on oxygen, and he would need this IV medication that was related to his heart condition right away. So because most babies could pass away within hours after born with hypoplastic, and I held him for I think an hour, and I honestly thought for a little bit, like, maybe God healed him. He was just doing so well, and he looked so good. Of course, his heart wasn't healed like I had prayed for, because they do an echo on them right away after born. And I remember them telling me, you know, he has hypoplastic, and we're still seeing all the things we were seeing before he was born. And I almost was like devastated again, because I thought for a minute he was healed, like a miracle had happened. But anyway, he ended up having his first, the biggest blessing is he was a candidate for surgery when they told me he wouldn't be. Most kids with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, if they're strong enough, they will go through a series of 3 open heart surgeries throughout their life. All 3 of them should be done around between the ages of newborn to 4 years old. So just knowing he could have his first surgery to possibly give him life was a blessing. So it's like these mixed feelings of being terrified. Your 6-day-old baby is going to have its chest open and have open heart surgery, and but at the same time, this is an option, which before he was born, it wasn't an option. So I had to be thankful, and I was praising God and crying to him at the same, you know, like it's these mixed emotions. I was so happy, but so sad at the same time. So Wade had his first open heart surgery at 6 days old. To go back a little bit, because Wade was higher risk, but he was a candidate, they actually told us he would need 4 open. So he already kind of needed an extra open heart compared to the average hypoplastic. That surgery went well for what we were expecting, and he was 29 days old. He came home. I didn't even think he'd come home. I thought we'd be in the hospital for months.
So you were in there for a month, right?
For a month.
Because did you go early?
They induced me 2 weeks early.
Yeah,
Just
but
to have
didn't you have to go
control.
up there like it was all like timed out? I remember
Yes,
that, right?
just have a controlled environment and be born at U of M.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
then
so then
have
6
surgery.
days later, he has open heart surgery, correct?
Correct.
After he's born?
Yep.
So I'm sure he's probably got more tubes and everything else hooked up to him than you've probably ever seen. I remember seeing a picture of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that went really well. The fact that we went home in basically a month was a complete shock. And his surgeon basically, she's amazing, absolutely amazing, Dr. Romano. She wanted him to go home for 3 weeks to have a normal life. Honestly, in my head, this sounds awful to say, but I was like, she wants me to bring him home so he can go home for once. I thought he wouldn't ever come back home after that, because his next open heart surgery, he was like 2.5 months old, is always the hardest surgery and a lot of highest mortality rate. So I would never verbally say it until now, but those 3 weeks I kind of lived as if maybe he'd never be home again. So those were good weeks.
Do you know this, Bob? Okay.
Yeah.
You shook your head, so yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were home for 3 weeks, and then we returned back to U of M, preparing for his second open heart surgery. And again, it's the mixed emotions. You're just so thankful he can have this option. 20 years ago, this was not an option. Most babies died. And so he has this open heart in right after, so the surgeon came up to us after surgery, and everything was great, you know. And Bob and I were like smiling, and we thought life was good. He made it. Surgery was successful. I remember took a shower because I knew mentally preparing that I was gonna be stuck in a hospital for like a couple weeks. And so we get back to the hospital, and they call us because we couldn't see him yet, and he had coded. His heart had stopped, and they just put us in a room, and honestly, I don't know how long, but for like 30 minutes they were working on him. His chest was closed from surgery. They had to reopen it and do internal compressions because he was not responding to external compressions. So when you have someone come in a room and tell you he didn't say he was dying, but that his heart had stopped beating was terrifying. And so they brought Wade back to life. They left his chest open for 8 days. They can put this clear pad over it. He was then on this machine called ECMO. ECMO is a lung and heart machine. Basically, it helps his heart and lungs rest, and this machine does the work for you. And I actually was somewhat familiar with this machine from my previous job. I've seen studies on it, and I looked at Bob and I said, if your child is on this machine, this is not good. Of course, I'm the type of person that Googles mortality rates on ECMO, and it's high. Let's just say it's higher than surviving off of it. And so Wade was on ECMO for 8 days, and to try and keep this short, basically, the doctors could not figure out, his heart was no longer like functioning how they had wanted it after the surgery, and they had an idea of why. And basically what the issue was, he had this shunt put in. He had a shunt put in. Well, when he coded, they were doing internal compressions, and what ended up happening is just minute, tiny amount. They accidentally bumped that shunt in a little further in than it should have been. Mm-hmm. But at the time they didn't know, and that's why each day on ECMO he was getting sicker and sicker. And they basically decided at day 8, we need to go back in his chest and do another open heart surgery and find the problem. They kind of had an idea.
So this is number 3, right?
This is number 3. Mm-hmm. This is kind of more like an emergency, and it's kind of more like, one doctor was thinking this, at this point, and you're trying to process just all the medical terminology. Like, this is very complex. And making decisions like this, like child's life. But it was kind of like, yeah, take him. We just need an answer, because if we don't figure out what's wrong, he won't come off ECMO, and then he will not live. So, praise God, they found out the shunt was just minutely pushed in, and she corrected it. And within hours after she corrected it, he got off ECMO. Because the longer you're on the ECMO, the sicker you get. And we needed him off that machine, or we knew we didn't have much more time with him. And so
do you think that
he came
God's
off.
answering prayers like crazy during that time? I mean, were you like praying, please get him off that, please? Because we're back here.
Yeah.
And I know that elders, particularly a few of them, they would give consistent and constant updates about you. That's the beauty of text. I like it because you can say, hey, here's what's going on. Or I text you, hey, man, whatever, periodically. But did you sense God was just in that room, or was he giving you peace during that time? Or you guys just...
No, he was.
Like, what's going down?
For the first time in my life, I understood prayer. Like, prayer brought me peace for the first... I'm not saying I still don't have those worries and anxiety about Wade, but he also was wrapping his arms around me, and everything was out of my control, and I just had to trust him.
Yeah.
And every time someone told me they were praying for Wade, I just felt better. And I had an insane amount of people praying for Wade. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. So I thank every single person every day. God's ears were ringing.
Mm-hmm. I think that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they say, we go to church because that's our duty. Like you guys grew up, that's our duty. I don't think it's that. I think it's a delight because you find your folks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty sure if I told you, hey, man, I'm struggling, you would pray for me. You know what I mean? Because you love me and I love you. And so I think sometimes we have to remember that, like, you said something interesting that, like I didn't really want to say, or I didn't want people to pray. I want to kind of hold it in. And that's, there's that sense of how much do you really put out there? How are people going to respond? And that's, our fear is like, well, what are they going to think? Or do I really want this person praying? I think that's, in some ways, maybe a defense mechanism, like I don't want people to know. Like that's not their business. Yeah, it is. our business. You know, that's the power of when we stand in baptism or anything. We're like, yeah, we're with you. And yeah, so 3 surgeries.
Yeah.
How many days were you in the hospital from that one after he gets off? You called it ECMO?
He got off ECMO, and then we were there 2 months.
Just before July, we came home, right? In
Yeah.
June.
So he was hospitalized.
Last year, right?
No. Wade's
23.
not even 3. He's 3 months old. So this is almost 3 years ago. Time flies.
How old is he now?
3.
He is?
Yeah. Time flies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this
when
is
Wade
like
was
2023.
He was born in 2023. Yep.
Yeah. So he's in there. He gets through that surgery. You were
Yep.
there for 2 months. I remember that.
2 additional months. Yep. And then we went home.
You were on site for 2 months, or did you come home?
Well, I stayed up there all the way through until he came home.
Yeah, Bob and I stayed the whole time.
Yeah, nothing else mattered. I think honestly our biggest struggle was our kids, which were being very well cared for, but I think we both,
I had never
when we
left
had just
them that
enough
long.
time, when we had enough time to think about something else other than Wade, it was like, well, you know, our kids, like, they're missing mom and dad and not living a normal life right now, which, of course, everything normal without us in it. And they would come up and visit on the weekends. We'd see them
They'd stay with us.
Yeah. So we'd, you know, we were
Was
just
that a
trying to-
concern of yours?
with,
Those two? You know, the oldest two?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like in my mind?
yeah.
Biggest concern.
How do you... this is what he's going through right now. There's nothing we can do about that. You
Yeah.
know, we're completely dependent upon them.
Yeah.
And then you got Olivia and Jackson. You're like, how do I handle that? But did you have family helping? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing support.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh.
When Wade's very sick, Bob and I kind of learned how we handle things. When Wade would be very, very sick or going through the surgery, I would ask my parents to just watch them and keep them home and then bring them to the hospital to visit Wade once things were a little better.
Yeah.
I guess when things were really, really bad, my parents came and stayed beside us. There was always someone I pretty much was always sleeping by Wade, but then we had a room at the Ronald McDonald House where Bob could sleep or Olivia and Jackson could visit. And so the biggest thing is Bob and I were separated a lot too. I always slept by Wade and he was always with the kids at home or at the Ronald House. So it's just a different way of navigating life. We know the hospital really well now. We lived there.
She would like
In the Ronald House.
refuse to leave just to go to Ronald McDonald to sleep, but instead she would try to sleep in the room with all the beeping, and yeah, that's rough.
There's no greater love than a mother's love.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times when I do marriage counseling or something, they'll always sit in here and I'll go, look, yeah, you guys should make decisions together. You know, ultimately you're accountable. You know, this is how it works and this and that. I said, but when a woman is created with a love that is absolutely the most fierce, you know, just like, I think I'm pretty tough. You know what I mean? But when I look at my wife and like I'm listening to you, you're deprived of sleep, you've got, you know, or deprivation, you've got all these things going on, and you're still taking
Yeah.
relentless love.
Taking her notes. Taking lots of notes.
Yeah, but I mean, think about that. And then on the other side of that is, you know, God's thinking about you, invested in this, and I was like, I'm going to give you this little one here, okay? We're going to keep doing this. I would have to say that, you know, when I've watched you develop in your faith, I think it's the last 3 years has been just a trajectory to the moon, you know, straight up. It's just moving and learning and trusting. And if you look at it, you see that picture on the wall right there in the bottom right-hand corner?
I saw it. I love it. Wearing Wade's shirt.
I sent that to you, right?
Yeah.
That's Montana.
That's awesome.
And Wade. It's a shirt that says Wade Warrior.
Warrior Wade.
Warrior Wade,
Yeah.
and all this other stuff on it, man. And I wore it out there. And so I was with my wife, and we were sharptail and Hungarian partridge hunting in Montana. She doesn't hunt. She just walks. And it looks like $1 million. LL Bean and, you know, Orvis, and she got all the cool stuff. Best time of my life is just being with my wife. And so I was out there, and I slapped that shirt on, and that was the first day that I came through there, and so I got a limit. I'm like, Warrior Wade. So I think I sent it to you, man. So I always think about that when I go look at that picture. It's always got a little bit of him.
Yeah, I love it.
So
awesome.
what surgery are we all done with surgeries now with him?
No, he had one more that year.
And then that's it.
So
In
he was home
November.
for a couple months. Those were really rough months. We
They
don't need to
were.
go into it. But he had withdrawals from being on all these heavy. So these are just things like people don't see. He vomited 10 to 15 times a day. And anyway,
night.
we dealt with all these withdrawals because he was on such heavy pain, like narcotics. So we went through all that, and then November. So he'd be about 8 months old. 8 months old, he had his 4th open heart surgery. And that one went really good. I mean,
Yeah.
it was terrifying, but looking back, it went really well. We were only
Yeah.
in the hospital for 5 days. I mean, for Bob and I now, we're like, Psh, we got this. I mean, once we got through the surgery, and 5 days is nothing. I just thank God every day. I couldn't believe how well all these surgeries went.
And
9 months ago, they told me my child wasn't gonna live, and he ended up making it through all these open heart surgeries, not easily, but he did it.
the biggest thing, not even just being 5 days in surgery, you could tell like how much better he was, because that
Oh,
time
yeah.
frame when he came home and we were, you know, trying to get through life, like I'm trying to go, you know, work, running
Right.
out of money, you know, and we were just in the hospital so long, and I'm trying to do that, you know, trying to function with the kids, or, you know, be back to a family, full family. And yeah, Wade, I mean, just vomiting all the time. And it, yeah, there wasn't any time to really focus on, you know, much else. But after the hybrid, or not hybrid,
Hemifontan was
Hemifontan.
the last open heart surgery he had. He
November
was thriving after that. So, I mean, his heart
Yeah.
was still working very hard before that. Why he would vomit. And anyway, he had a lot of issues still. It's not like he was fixed. It was just a little bit more stable.
Yeah, because
so-
the chance that he would code between the Norwood and the Hemifontan, I think we both knew was
Yeah,
very high.
his cardiologist told me one time before I took him home, she's like, I think it was more like preparing, if this happens, this is not your fault. Like, there is a high chance your child could
Yeah.
code at home, but his heart could stop, and it's just,
So it's
there's not
hard
really
to
anything
sleep
you
anytime you
can-
wake up. The first thing you think of is that, and
He was
But
just
yeah.
very fragile. But so he made it through his last open heart surgery at 8 months old, and once we went home, then we started focusing on. So I guess we even talked about it. He was born with cleft lip and palate too. I never thought I could see the lights start focusing on his cleft surgeries. I really never even thought about them. So then we started working on those surgeries once we made it through. And the moment he made it through that open heart surgery. His body was stronger. His heart was stronger. It wasn't fixed. His heart is not fixed, but it was more stable. So then he started crawling, and it's wild because so many people prepared me like, oh, these kids will be so, because he's been living in a bed for so long, and his heart isn't strong and whatever. He's gone through all these traumatic things. He's probably gonna be very delayed. He might not walk until he's 1.5, 2. He might not crawl until he's like 1.5. Here's Wade, crawling almost the same time, a little delayed, but almost the same time as Libby and Jackson. Walking, he was again delayed, but he's
But
got
barely.
this.
So let me ask you a question. What's delayed?
You have in your head, oh, they should be walking by 1.
See, I listen to people all the time because now my kids are having kids.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, they're delayed.
I guess I compare him to his siblings.
This is what I say. Set your phone down. All right.
Yeah.
Stop. What is it? Who said comparison is the thief of joy? You can't have joy because you're so busy comparing yourself to everybody else.
Yeah.
My child, I listen to people sometimes and they're like, yeah, my son started walking at 2 months. And you're like, no, he didn't. Yeah, they were playing horseshoes at 9 months. No, they weren't. It's like, man, stop.
Sounds like a one-upper to me.
Yeah. So,
Can I bring this part up? I feel like this is the best time.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to, it's funny because me and Kristen have the same outlook on this. Like when it comes to pretty much anything now, when before your life was great, but say you, I don't know, you got a flat tire or your vehicle's breaking down. It's, oh man, this is awful. Or whatever. Just, it's honestly, you look back at it, they're small things. Everything is small to me and Kristen when it comes to something that's supposed to be a big deal or something went wrong. Whatever, water in the basement.
I think it's perspective of life.
The perspective is so
I still
different.
might, yeah.
For sure for me, I know it is for Kristen, but it's just like, maybe you overhear someone else's problems, or it's just like, oh, well, you didn't almost lose your child. Like, trust me, there's worse things out there than, your grass has got a brown patch.
do you think that everybody that's a Christian believes their life's going to be a whole lot better?
I used to believe that.
Like that status
I thought
would
life
then
would
be
be
like,
better
oh,
if I was a better Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
like-
what I'm saying is a lot of people like, I'm good with God because I'm going to get something. I'm going to get a better life. Like you think about this, a lot of people don't. The prosperity gospel is like, hey man, God's just, you give 10%, man, He's going to triple and double. It's like these little things that we like to put with Him. I always believe that this being in love with Him is enough. It's part of what I have to do. And when I go through things, I mean, obviously you've gone through something that no one else in the church has probably gone through. Maybe there's a listener out there, that's going through this or going to go through this. But you endured something that's absolutely just beyond. Do you know what I mean? Beyond. And here you are, and you still believe. I've seen a lot of people drop out, if God doesn't do this, and I want to do this. How's your faith now in comparison?
Much stronger.
Yeah.
So much
I know it is
stronger.
for you too. Yeah.
I think it's my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm. You talk to Him a lot?
I do. I've learned it doesn't, and I think people have taught me this throughout Wade's journey. People have taught me how to pray because they prayed over me or they prayed for me. People prayed over the phone with me, over me, like all these people that I've had in my lives for years and people I've never met.
Yeah.
So they have also helped me become better, or just how they have now taught me how to help others who are hurting. I'm not saying I'm good at it yet, but I'm trying. So going through something really, really hard and seeing how people helped us I hope will help me help others. And so going back, I've learned sometimes you don't have to like just find this perfect time to sit down and on your hands and knees and pray. You just pray wherever you are, and it can, and just talk to him in the car a lot. I guess for me that's where it's quiet.
Yeah.
He's faithful.
He's very faithful.
You know, he's been so faithful to you. I want to ask you a super tough question. Do you think that if you were in this position and you're going down this road and you're struggling and struggling and struggling, and do you think that your children, your family, what did they see? I mean, do people see Christ in you now more than they did before, or do they see you as just kind of lucky? You know, are you able to say, "Hey, man, this is what God's done for us"? Are you giving Him the credit for what He's done? Do you know what I mean?
I hope.
That's a super weird question. If that
No,
doesn't make sense, I'm sorry.
No,
But,
it does.
Like, are you able to turn this into His praise?
I hope that's what people see. I don't want people to see me or Bob as like a better Christian than someone else, because we're not. I pray with certain friends that I would have never prayed. Like, the whole Wade journey has opened up God conversations that probably would have never have opened up.
So this is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Pointing, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I think when we go through stuff like this, and I've never been to the level that you are. I've walked with people who've gone through that. But I feel like the greatest gift we can give for our gratitude is to, make sure
Him.
glorify Him.
Yeah.
And, like, how are you doing? I'm doing great, man. The Lord's faithful. You know what I mean? And I think that's so important. That's what I kind of see in you. I kind of sense in you. Like, even when we were talking, it's not, hey, man, yeah, God gave you that doctor, that surgeon.
Yeah.
And God gave you this and the shunt. We found
Right.
those things. I mean, those are just His provisional and sovereignty and love and care for you all throughout this.
He's always provided. There was all these signs. I was like, this happened, and He may not have stopped it, but He provided all these things and people and hospitals and doctors and you, church, to make it through.
Yeah. What would you tell people in closing? Like, what would you tell them? Like, from this whole experience, and I'll start with you, Bob.
I would think the main thing would be God will provide. Whether it's in our situation, we never wanted to think of it, but like a way to comfort us. We both thought, the worst at times, and I didn't know how I'd ever be able to get through that. I didn't like to think about it whenever, I tried to just put that out and always look up, okay, the, solution, or this, he's gonna get through it, he has to. But I think having just the knowing that God will provide, whether you're having a rough day, whether you're having a good day. I think it was in yesterday's sermon too, like just, thanking God for the good days, and not forgetting, just like, you always think about the bad things that you mentioned, but just trying to have God is there. He sees everything. He knows everything before it's going to happen. He knows what I'm going to do when I leave here, and just trying to be a better believer, even more than what we went through, and just stop doubting.
That's a hard one, man.
Very hard. And I'm trying to work on it, and probably need to talk to you more on.
We'll do part
You know,
two. It'll just be about Bob. Wade's good. He's he's wound up and moving forward. And I saw him. I mean,
I just don't know, like, after what,
it's
what
hard
we
to
went through,
synopse.
how do you not doubt? Or how do I still doubt? But I do. I think it's
because
natural human.
you have flesh.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to remember, man, Paul, what was it, Romans 7?
Yeah.
He's like, I want to do the right thing, but I usually do the wrong thing. This wretched flesh I have just messes it all up. Well, that's pretty important, that we look at that and say, well, he's like super Christian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, I kind of do the wrong thing. I think we're prone to that from the fall and everything else. Kristen, what would you hope that somebody would take away from? That's I know it's loaded. I always ask it at the end of the podcast.
I mean, I got two. I mean, for me, put your trust in God. There's going to be so many things in your life you can't control. And eventually, if you live long enough, you're going to go through a really hard struggle. Most likely won't be something like this, but a loss or whatever it may be. And you're not going to be able to control it. And I think that's hard for a lot of people. And that's where you got to put your trust in God. Trusting Him is worshiping Him. And I'm not saying trusting it doesn't just fall on you and happen. You have to pray for it and seek it. My other thing is always counting your blessings. It's a song that came out when Wade was born, and I still say that's Wade's song, but I love that song. It's a Christian song if you want to listen to it later. I'm sure you've heard it. But for me, it's like, even when I was sitting beside Wade and he was potentially dying, I just kept trying to count all those miracles he already gave Wade, all the blessings. And if you can see those things, even the worst situation in your life will look a little better. So, yeah, keep counting your blessings, because there's more than you can count.
Man, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
You're awesome. Thank you.
No, we appreciate.
I'm so thankful I met you.
Yeah.
Met you and found your
man,
church.
You're,
and
you're my people, man. I'll tell you that again.
So,
I do remember saying that. Because I think you had cowboy boots on.
it was.
And we
then
might
you
have had matching
twisted
shirts.
They're the same
think we
shoes.
both
I've had
shop
these
at
shoes like
Costco.
5 years.
Those are country, man. I love that, man. I always told my wife, I said, I like the boots because they give me an extra inch of height.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I got to have that. When you're 5'6", man, you got to get some. Yeah. How tall are you?
I think 6'2" now. I'm 6'3" on my driver's license, but I really did do this a little bit. I think it's the heavy packs in the Marine Corps. I'll still say I'm 6'3". Yeah.
What's the next on the list for purchasing
Purchasing?
an animal? What are you after now?
I'm trying not to purchase animals. I'm trying to focus on what I have.
Okay.
And be grateful, because I do have a very nice horse.
So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you, why don't you count your blessings?
Yes, I have a very nice horse. I don't need more.
162 chickens, 42 goats. That's a lot of blessings, you know what I mean? So,
Got a new donkey coming.
Yeah, homestead's doing well.
Yeah,
Kids doing well.
great.
Yeah.
I have one request.
Yes.
Everybody listen to this podcast. I'm going to start shouting to the high heavens again to pray for Wade, because he'll have a surgery this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know where to come to, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The people of God in this church will pray for you. I promise you that.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you.
I want a new T-shirt though.
Okay.
Sounds good.
What do you want? Wade 2.0 t-shirt, man.
It comes in.
Once he makes it through this surgery, he'll be a new man. I say he'll be
I
running
figured this out,
marathons.
man.
It comes in the OD green.
Oh yeah, of course you did. So, all right, well, guys, thank you so much for being here. Know I love you, and it's an honor to hang out with you guys.
Right back at
So,
you.
blessings to you,
Absolutely.
man. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.